Wrestling has given us fans thousands of unforgettable moments, but not all of them have stood the test of time. Times change, and luckily the industry has changed too, but that's not going to stop us from going back in time and looking at a bunch of moments that have aged terribly. We're gonna start small with a single line of commentary that was uttered by Joey Styles at ECW One Night Stand in 2005.
Suicide dive by Mike Awesome, and it's a shame he didn't succeed in taking his own life.
Styles was angry with Awesome during that match because Awesome had left ECW in a controversial way. He was still the ECW World Heavyweight Champion when he signed a contract with WCW. This move was seen as a major betrayal by ECW and its fans. Despite this happening 5 years earlier, Styles decided to go on a rant about Awesome throughout his match against Masato Tanaka, but it was this specific comment that aged badly, considering Awesome did take his own life less than 2 years later, in February 2007. That's probably why Vince McMahon tried to script every word that came out of anyone's mouth while he was running WWE. But Vince McMahon is the human embodiment of aged milk. He's like a walking 10-gallon milk jug. In light of the recent sexual misconduct allegations against him, most of the things that he did on TV look atrocious. Poor Trish Stratus ended up having to kiss the dirty old man during a storyline back in 2001, and in one segment Vince forced her to strip down to her underwear and bark like a dog in the middle of the ring. This degrading act was supposed to humiliate Trish as part of an angle where she was subservient to him, but in reality he was probably getting a big old tent in his pants over the situation. The segment remains one of the most criticised moments in WWE history, and it looks incredibly bad now considering those allegations. But there's plenty more where that came from. Stacy Keibler was made to give him a lap dance in the middle of the ring in 2002 in a storyline where she tried to get a job as his personal assistant. It was a moment that we can never forget, mostly thanks to the internet turning it into a meme. Stacy also ended up having to kiss Vince on TV, as did Sable. There seems to be a bit of a pattern emerging here. Oh crap, I forgot about Stephanie McMahon. This is the man that was caught staring at his own daughter's boobs during a segment and allegedly proposed an angle where he was going to be the father of Stephanie's child. How about that time that he forced Lita and Edge to go out and perform that live sex celebration on Raw? Lita has since said that she hated doing this. In fact, she said that Edge, John Cena and many other crew members tried to stop the segment, but Vince insisted on going ahead with it anyway and threatened to fire her if she refused. She revealed that this decision ultimately led to her leaving WWE and the company buried her on the way out. But Vince presented women in WWE as nothing more than sex objects for years, and that really has aged like milk when you think about how today they portray the women as equal to the men. So it's crazy to remember the bra and panties matches, the mud fights and the hot lesbian action amongst everything else from just a few years ago. I mean, the whole Divas search was basically so Vince could fill the locker room up with young, attractive women for a few months. Young, attractive women, by the way, who were desperate to get a job on TV. It just seems like Vince McMahon enjoys forcing women into uncomfortable sexual situations. Who'd have thought it? There was the time that he said the N-word in front of Booker T at the Survivor Series, and there was the storyline between Triple H and Booker that had a few racist overtones to it too. In the lead up to their match at WrestleMania 19, Triple H told Booker that people like you don't get to be champion, implying that Booker T's background as a black wrestler with a tough upbringing disqualified him from being champion. Many fans hoped for a redemption arc where Booker would triumph over the adversity and racism implied in the storyline. However, the match's outcome saw Triple H retaining the title after a clean win, and he didn't win any kind of rematch afterwards either. If ever there was a case of the wrong man going over, then this was it. But Booker T's career is littered with moments of racism, and not just in WWE. Alongside his brother Stevie Ray, Harlem Heat went down in history as one of the greatest tag teams ever. But before being known as Harlem Heat, they were both known as the Ebony Experience and the Ghetto Blasters. I don't think they'd get away with those racially charged names today, but it gets worse. In WCW, the original plan for Harlem Heat's debut was to have Colonel Rob Parker winning them in a card game and then making them come down to the ring in shackles. Man, WCW in the early 90s was a wild place. Maybe RoboCop could have come down and rescued the guys from slavery. Of course, the WWF was no better during the late 80s and early 90s. This promo from Roddy Piper seems pretty shocking now, considering how unacceptable blackface is, although I think it was pretty unacceptable back in 1992. It occurred at WrestleMania 6 during Roddy Piper's feud with Bad News Brown, and Piper painted half of his entire body black for the match itself. If you're trying to find the match on the Peacock version of the show, by the way, don't bother, because it's been cut out along with the promo. They also cut out Vince saying the N-word at the Survivor Series. Speaking of Vince, in 2007 he took to wearing a durag on his head after winning the ECW title. In fact, all of 2007 would be a very challenging time for Vinnie Mac. This was also the year where his limousine blew up. They went all in, trying to sell the death of Mr. McMahon like it was real, and it was going to be a big story going forward. They'd even filmed a Mr. McMahon's funeral segment for the show. That was until Chris Benoit ruined everyone's fun. WWE quickly realised the gravity of the situation and cancelled the storyline, never mentioning it again. They went ahead and did a live tribute show for Benoit on the Monday after the incident, before they were aware of the full details. The show featured a heartfelt tribute from Vince McMahon, a 10-bell salute, and of course, lots of wrestlers crying. But once the truth emerged about the situation, the whole thing turned into a PR nightmare for WWE. Yes, this is another thing that you'll never find on Peacock, because they've tried to erase it from history. At the time, the media descended on WWE, trying to blame them directly for Benoit's actions. They said that it had to be roid rage that caused Benoit to go on his rampage, but it was later attributed to CTE. Basically, all of those flying headbutts and hard chair shots had scrambled his brain. WWE eventually banned unprotected chair shots to the head, but it made moments like The Rock battering Mick Foley at the 1999 Royal Rumble look terrible. The Ruthless Aggression era has a lot of moments that have aged terribly, by the way. One of the most cringeworthy storylines involved Kane, Lita and Gene Snitsky. Kane forced himself into Lita's life and then impregnated her. Then Snitsky entered the picture and things got even worse. He caused Lita to lose the baby. Then there was the Katie Vick storyline, which might be one of the worst ideas WWE ever had. Triple H claimed that Kane had killed his girlfriend, Katie Vick, in a car accident. This led to a segment where Triple H, dressed as Kane, simulated necrophilia with a mannequin in a casket. And who could forget Kerwin White? In a baffling move, WWE rebranded Chavo Guerrero as a stereotypical upper-middle-class white man with racist tendencies. His catchphrase said it all: if it's not white, then it's not right. Wrestling has always evolved with the times, but you've got to think that now Vince is gone, more of today's content will stay fresher for longer.